Yeah? Well, then why don't you play a little tune for me? Go ahead, play it. Go ahead, do a good job. No, you were playing better than that before. That ain't the way. You play it. Go ahead, play it, play it.
How do I start a song like this, Pop? You know I love you, and I break down every time just the thought of you. I remember being young, always counting on you, and even though time passed, my eyes still cry for you. They say time will heal the wounds, but when is it gonna start? There's not a day that goes by that you not in my heart. I miss you, damn, wish you were here with me, cause you were a big man, head in the family. You did your thing in the island, people knew you as the man. That's James, the barber, cutting hair, why and then, who inspired many people, inspired me. And if only you could see what your grand turned out to be, I could see you in heaven with the lie in the chair, trimming up his hair or tying up his beard. And even though it hurts, I smile at those times you were there for me. In the middle of the night, needed something to eat, quickly went to KFC. Unlimited service is what you giving to me. And the part that hurts the most, I wasn't there to say goodbye, but to the day that I die, you forever in my life. I said I know it's rough, forgive it sometime. One day you won't cry, just smile up at the sky. It may not sound true, cause the pain too strong for you, but time will heal the wounds. Time will heal the wounds. Pops.
Yo, James Barbershop for nearly 40 years. On Straight Path Road, Wyan Dance cutting hair. He touched people's head, not only with the clippers. He dropped wisdom on the head, advised many brothers. For what he meant to me, it's not the only reason I cry, but how he touched people's heart and many people's lives. His words meant something, from the elder to the younger, from people with cash to people filled with hunger. He lived a full life, and to him I say thank you for being a real man. Assalamu alaikum. Man, I love your pops. Man, my love is non-stop. You touch a lot of people in the barbershop. From 12/15/97 he reached his fate, but long live the memories of you being great. Man, I love your pops. Man, my love is non-stop. You touched a lot of people in the barbershop. 12/15/97 he reached his fate, but long live the memories of him being great.
James the barber, the one that cuts the hair on Straight Path Road. Man, he been doing it for years. James the barber, the one that cuts the hair on Wyan Dance Road. Man, he been doing it for years. James the barber, to Lance, William, Melvin, and Bobby. James the barber, to Lawrence, Lloyd, Malachi, and Kai. James the barber, yeah, yeah. I love your pops, The whole fam loves you. And you are appreciated. Definitely appreciated. Yeah. If I work real hard, I think I can come up with $100.
Hey, yo, Pop, I know that you got a great-granddaughter now. Her name's Aaliyah Karima Shabazz. I know you would like that. Yeah. She loved her father like the way I love my father. The way my father loved you. Yeah, you a good man. Love your pops. Assalamu alaikum.
"16 years ago today, I got news that my father had passed away. I can't describe to you the feeling of losing my father, my friend, my mentor, my dad. Most of my actions are as a result of just watching my dad. I don't know, I'm reflecting back, thinking back, many thoughts come to mind. I just thank Almighty God, Allah, for a father such as my father. My father, I would be in his presence and he would always introduce himself. He said, just tell him it's James the barber, the one that cuts the hair. Such a beautiful father, such a noble father. I would watch my father as growing up on the block. He would take the neighbors' kids. He would see them sometimes and say, boy, come on over here. He would give out free haircuts to the neighbors on the block. Just very charitable. Going to Muhammad's Temple of Islam, I would be in the vehicle with my dad so many times when he would pick up some brother or sister, as we would later learn they were first-timers, and bring them to Muhammad's Temple of Islam. and he would drop them off. I would see my dad cut hair in the barber shop. I would see him cut hair at the Muhammad's temple. I miss him, my dad. You know, the first time I saw Muhammad Ali, I had taken this picture when I was about 10 years old, actually from 45 years ago. But it was my dad who took me to this bazaar. You know, I named my son after Muhammad Ali. And I always had dreams. You know, when I am inspired, sometimes I daydream, and I just would want to be like Muhammad Ali. And yes, any of the Muslims I supported. There was the Delphonics, Kool and the Gang, the Four Tops. Levi Stubbs was a Muslim, and then there was the Five Stair Steps and others. But yes, it was my father who would take me every time I met any one of them. Joe Tex. I was a huge fan of Joe Tex. Joe Tex was a Muslim that I met when my father took me. He was performing at one of our bazaars. Just so many, many memories. Sometimes people, or there are persons who believe that all we did as Muslims, that we just hated white folks, but we had a lot of fun.
Doctor, and when he had seen the doctor just 2 days ago before his 3-week checkup, he was over 11 pounds. So, all praise due to Allah. He's coming along quite fine. When he was born, we had called the Adhan in his one ear, Allahu Akbar, and we had called the Akama in his other ear, Allahu Akbar, and we had said, behold, the only thing greater than you, Allah. And we didn't hate white folks. The Honorable Elijah Muhammad taught us to know white folks. We didn't hate them. We just knew them. My father was once a part of a quintet, or quartet, I should say, singing gospel music with the great Rivington singers, and he would reunite with them from periodically with Brother John Kaiser and them and perform. They performed at the Apollo Theater and other venues. But he was such a good, noble man. And I just thank Almighty God, Allah, for him. I always talk about my father, and I should mention my mother. My mother and my father was an example to me of how I should be as a father, as I should be as a husband. My mother was what you would call a young fly girl. And my father's younger brother, Henry, would introduce my mother to my father. He said, I know somebody who could tame you. And my father was a good example of what a man should be. He provided for us. We didn't grow up on the street. We had owned our own home. And I watched my father and my mother struggle with us, but we were able. My father only completed the 7th grade, or he went to the 7th grade of what we would call this education. But he would watch his children all become educated. Some with master's degrees, some with bachelor's degrees, some with associate degrees. But Dad took care of us. And I thank Almighty God, Allah, for him. Again, 16 years ago, brothers. 16 years. Those final days of my father's life, I can recall them very vividly. I saw my father that day on the 14th, but he did not speak. And the following morning, as I had loaded my truck and logged onto the Dad's machine, working for Federal Express, I received on a pager a 911, and I knew it. It was time. Pop was returning to Almighty God, Allah.
My father was a very charitable Muslim. He died the death of a Muslim, and that's what we all say. We didn't want to die the death unless we died the death of a Muslim. My father died the death of a Muslim. His very last few words that he said to me as he laid in that hospital bed, he was making atonement. He was crying out to his God. He said, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And if I could ever have a do-over, I was at his bedside as he said it, and he said it in Arabic, La ilaha illallah, and Muhammad Rasulullah, and I interrupted him and said, Elijah Muhammad is the messenger of God. And he repeated again, there is no God but Allah, and Muhammad is his messenger. And I said, Elijah Muhammad is his messenger. And I wish I would have had a do-over, because he was giving his final words, submitting to Almighty God Allah. I miss you, Pop, but my father died the death of a Muslim. He paid his charity. My brothers washed the body as they prepared his janazah, and we did have it at the Muslim Center. He was buried within 24 hours, as per his instructions. My father worked as a barber for 36 years. His older brother, my Uncle George, was the original barber who opened the barber shop at 1533 Straight Path Road in Wyandanch, New York. He told me he opened it on January the 1st, 1960. He said, I got the shop ready to go. It was a Caucasian who wanted to leave town, and he sold him the business with everything in it. My uncle also died the death of a Muslim. My brother also washed the body of my uncle. I thank Allah for my father.
James Walker, let's bring him on. Not only is he Melvin's father, but he's also mine. This is James the Barber, 1533 Straight Path.
Good.
First, I want to say there was a sneaky little plug there. I wasn't ready for that.
I thank Allah for my uncle. I thank Allah for my brothers. I thank Allah for my grandmothers, my aunt, and all those who preceded. I thank those who looked out for my father, Sister Sherry, who worked with him. My father, when he first found out that he had the cancer, was in our basement at the home. We had a boxing punching bag, and he punched it and he fractured his hand. He had brittle bones. He didn't know it. He would later slip in the tub and break his leg. And that's when when we were aware that he had the cancer. And what's very troubling to me was this was 1997. He was at the Wyandanch.
Grand Marshal. He's the Grand Marshal of the Wyandanch 97. Wyandanch 97. Grand Marshal. He the man.
Tape from one time. I did know he was the man. She didn't know. Melvin, you want to get something to eat? They told me you want something to eat.
No, they already ate. Yeah, we got some meat.
Fred told me, he said y'all wanted some food and they were bringing it over to you. That's
No,
why.
we're
Just
fine.
something to drink, Pop. That's all.
We're fine.
Okay, just that.
Bob, we're gonna hit the road. I gotta get Dawn. She's already beat me 3 times.
Oh, okay then.
All right?
I don't know if the doula find his own way.
So you'll find his way.
No, I ain't worried about it.
Parade, and just a few months later, he would pass. Very, very strange. 16 years, Pop. I will never forget you. I will always love you. Thank you, thank you, thank you.
Get back on track, and you will continue, and I know you'll be blessed because God bless us all. And I want to thank you and wish you the best. Congratulations.
Thank you. James Walker. James the Barber. 1533 straight.